We can hope, but it's hard to imagine that there will ever be a terrorist museum the way there will soon be a mob museum in Las Vegas. In a simpler time, men with Sicilian surnames and sharkskin suits were the very embodiment of domestic terror in blue-collar neighborhoods, even the corridors of power. But today brought proof that La Cosa Nostra is not quite ready for museum mothballs. It was a roundup of so many alleged Goodfellas, the feds used an army base to hold them all. So what is the state of the modern mafia, and is it anything close to the brand made famous by Brando? We asked a few who know. If this were a gangster movie, this would be the start of the third act. You know, the part where the guys in short haircuts and FBI windbreakers swoop into the neighborhood and round up Tony Bagels and Vinny Car Wash? But no self-respecting director would ever shoot the scene this big. 800 agents in 4 states and Italy, 127 busts, including 30 made men from 7 crime families. Nothing like this has ever been seen in a century. But here they are, in the non-fiction flesh. They even got the real Anthony Bagels Caveza and Vincenzo Vinny Car Wash Fruggiero, hitting all of the household names.
The Bonanno, Colombo, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucchese families.
Whether your household is in Brooklyn or just has a DVD player and a taste for great Brando.
Don Bassini, I want to thank you for helping me organize this meeting here today. And also the other heads of the 5 families from New York and New Jersey.
But most in the know say today's mob is very different from the one portrayed in the Godfather films. Sure, they're still accused of the same greedy, violent crimes, extortion, loan sharking, drug running, and a few bloody acts of rash machismo.
2 other murder victims allegedly were shot in a public bar because of a dispute over a spilled drink.
But compared to the union-running, politically connected scourge of industry mob of yore, today's La Cosa Nostra would be considered small potatoes.
Has a lot of the power been taken away? Yes. A lot of the respect and old ways that we used to do things? Yes.
Michael Franzese was a former captain of the Colombo crime family. His father, Sonny, was the underboss, once caught on a wiretap describing his favorite way to dispose of bodies using knives, a kiddie pool, and a trash compactor. A jailhouse religious conversion and a great deal of luck led Michael to leave the mob in one piece.
Some of the Bonannos were around here too in this section, but you know, this was our town. This was us. So
he says there's not the same discipline on the street these days, and with the sentencing power of the RICO Act, the feds can turn a mobster into an informant like never before.
You go back to the days of Al Capone. Al Capone gets convicted. What does he get? 15 years. He does 7. A mob guy can do 7 years standing on his head. Today, Al Capone would get 1,500 years. You know, it used to be you got 10 years. It was a big deal. Today, you get 100 years. People don't stand up. So the government has put so many weapons in their arsenal that young, old, or whatever, this life, it's not going to last. There's no way, unless the government backs off.
The whole idea of omerta, men of honor, the code of silence, that's all been by the boards. And I think it stems from the fact that 2nd and 3rd generation Italian Americans, the best and the brightest now are doctors and lawyers, and when you're talking about the mob, you're scraping the bottom of the gene pool. These guys aren't as intelligent, they're not as sophisticated as the wise guys were 50 years ago, and all of that has contributed to the demise of this organization.
You know, it's funny, about 7-8 months ago, a guy called me up, used to be around me, used to be in my crew, and I hadn't seen him for over 20 years. And it was funny because he said to me, "Hey, Chief, you need to come back. There's nobody out here. Nobody's making money anymore."
In his heyday, Franzese ran a gasoline scam that he says was bringing in $7 to $8 million a week. So no, they are not making that kind of money anymore, but they are still making money.
They lost all their influence or majority part in the construction industry. They've been taken out of the garment center, the fish market, the convention center, but they still remain on the waterfront. And what you've seen in the movie with Marlon Brando exists to some extent today.
You take them heaters away from you and you're nothing, you know that?
You talk yourself in the river.
You take the good goods away.
In the film, only those who kick back to the mob-connected union gets precious work or promotions. Today's indictment charges 14 people with extorting longshoremen to kick back their Christmas bonuses. And a recent hearing found a shop steward pulling in more than $400,000 a year for a job that takes around 7 minutes a day. The indictments also allege there is plenty of money to be made in the strip club protection rackets, and the mobster myth still has a powerful pull in big city nooks and crannies.
They better get their perceptions back into proper perspective, because the Italian mob's not dead now. It'll never be dead, because as long as there's people out there that gamble, go to prostitutes, borrow money, there's always going to be somebody to cater to them, and that's the Italian Mafia. They've been saying the Italian Mafia is dead as far back as I can remember. You'll be dead and I'll be dead. The Italian Mafia will still be here.